Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well today on Tuesday expiration. I'm going to give it just a couple seconds, let some people join in the room, just put it out there, and then we'll get started. So, um, again, I hope everybody's surviving the crash of April 30th, 2024. I believe we are. Oh crap! Yeah, Armageddon. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm glad you guys are here today. Today we have a very, very special guest. Well, first off, we always have Mr. Matt Simon from Option Omega. Matt, how you doing?
Good. How's everybody doing today?
Doing pretty good. Tuesdays are, you know, whatever. Not a lot of songs about Tuesdays, a lot of songs about Mondays. Anywho, but we're not here to talk about Tuesdays. We're here to talk with a very special guest today. You might know him as SpecialK me in the Option Omega Discord, but Mr. Justin K. Justin, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. No complaints on my end, even though it is Tuesday. I'll take it over a Monday, that's for sure.
It is a Tuesday. And again, we don't want to, that'll be a separate talk, just why Tuesdays are terrible. But today, what we're going to talk about is the newest course from Option Omega Academy. And a couple things to talk about before. Matt, you're here today, so I always like to let you do the thing. Do you have anything you want to tell the people about options?
Sure, I'll just remind everybody that options involve risk. They are not suitable for all investors. This content, as well as the rest of Option Omega content and the Option Omega Academy, is for entertainment purposes only. And backtesting, which we will be talking about today and in this course, is backwards looking. It's not forward looking. So if you have any questions, you should seek the services of a competent professional. Let's get the show rolling.
Let's do it. Okay. So that's, you know that already, but what we're here today to talk about is, we launched Academy last year, and it's we've gotten great feedback from it. But one of the things that when we launched it, we had always kind of said we want, we work with educators and things like that, but it would be a dream one day if someone reached out to us in the community, because every day we see people who are putting strategies on and thinking about strategies and very almost it's not a slight, it's because as a software engineer myself, but almost thinking about it in engineering terms. And Justin came to us a couple months ago and said, basically, I have this strategy. I think it'd be an interesting course. What do you guys think of it? And then he proceeded to send us videos and data that was just the most impressive thing we had ever seen. Like we were just very, very impressed. And so what we want to talk about today is the launch of the new 1 DTE crash course. And with that, I'm going to bring Justin back on. And Justin, I'm giving my side of the story. You reached out to us, but tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how long you've been trading, what you do, and then maybe talk a little bit about, how you came upon the strategy and what your interaction has been with that strategy. Can you hear me, Justin?
Yeah, not sure if you can hear me. I think I'm reconnecting.
I can hear you still.
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
we can hear you. So
out for a moment.
no, you're.
But anyway, so
I understand.
For me, a little bit of intro. I'm a practicing attorney in-house, but I focus mostly on what I consider financial law. So I did tax representation, debt restructuring, bankruptcy, mergers and acquisitions, all that kind of stuff. Lately, I've kind of been focusing on running and starting small law firms inside companies. Right now, I'm at a charter airline. They'll more than likely close pretty soon, but right now I'm still at a charter airline. But from the trading side of things, I first got started in equities first in around 1999. Had traded at that time. I mean, everybody was kind of getting into equity as the dot-com bubble was about to burst, and 99 wasn't really the best time to get into equities, but it is what it is. Didn't really do so hot, and then kind of took a step back a little bit. 2004, started getting a little bit back into it, really started playing a little bit more with options around 2005, 2006. And then, kind of dabbled. And I did probably what most people do when they start off with options, buying, calls or puts if you think the options, the underlying is going to go up or down. And then you really start not fully understanding the Greeks or what any of it means, and you buy the cheapest stuff you can, thinking that you'll get the most leverage. So far out of the money calls. And, kind of what I learned was, and most people do, you can be right about the direction, but you need to be right about the timing and the severity of the move as well. And so while I'd often be right about 2 or 3 of those, I very many times still lost money. So it was around 2013, 14, and into 2015 that I really started saying, okay, let's dig deep into this and, get a better understanding about how the Greeks move, about how options are priced, about valuations. Based on a lot of that, I really started focusing mostly on indexes rather than underlying stocks. And then eventually started moving into around 2017, 2018, doing 1 or 1+ DTE trades. And those would be, the options that expire the next day beyond today. So I started that in 2018. Now, granted, 2022 is when you started seeing SPX dailies be introduced. So before that, there weren't expirations every day. So sometimes, if it was a Tuesday, you'd be selling, Wednesdays, or, if it was Wednesday, you might be selling Fridays or the next Monday's expiration, depending on the time frame that we were in. So the reason why I started focusing on 1DT is the volume of the trades was a little bit more, which gave me a little bit more odds to play in a shorter time frame rather than buying, what the typical tasty way is 30, 60, 90-day options and then letting them sit and then seeing 30, 60, 90 days what you were actually able to achieve with that. So I really started focusing a little bit more on 1DT. It's not the only thing that I've done, but when I started getting into it a little bit more, 2018, 2019 was before Option Omega had launched, their wonderful backtesting program. And before that, your options were very limited. I used eDelta Pro before Option Omega, but even before eDelta Pro was launched, which eDelta Pro uses end-of-day data, a lot of it was testing out through trial and error, but mainly Thinkorswim's think back or on-demand option. Where you say, okay, here's a strategy. Let me kind of move back a little bit and, run this strategy a little bit and see how profitable that would be. The really sad thing is, sometimes you'd spend a solid week, 30, 40 hours backtesting this strategy to find out that you either didn't make money or you just about broke even. So the ability to actually test a lot of different variations and strategies was pretty limited until Option Omega ended up coming out. So at that point, my strategies were actually, largely somewhat set. They've moved a little bit over that time frame, but and a little bit since then as well, but they've been fairly consistent. What I was really most interested about doing is taking a look at each individual piece of the strategy itself, understanding the short and the long puts, the calls, and then understanding how they moved based on different variables. So delta, your profit target, your stop loss, and then seeing how each one of them ended up moving and changing the profitability of your strategy, and then layering them on top. So most of this data I was doing for my own purposes to see how this works and if there's a way to optimize some of these strategies. And then it ended up being like, look, this is a lot of data that I've got, a lot of information, and maybe we can turn around and use this, and other people have the opportunity to build on this. So we put together this 1DTE course, and unlike probably what some other people that you might have interacted with that said, hey, here's a backtest, this is a wonderful backtest, here's a strategy, run this strategy. That's not what this course is designed to do. Instead, it's to say, look, here's a couple example strategies on things you can implement, but mainly let's take a look at all the underlying aspects behind it so you can find your peak profitability or your lowest drawdown within each one of these different parameters, and then teach you how to layer these on each other to then target what is going to be beneficial for you. Consistent income with fairly low or less drawdown than underlying buy and hold is the tradition. So most of this kind of focuses on, end of day and then, selling or buying the next day's option. One DTE, meaning, Monday through Thursday, the next day. Friday would be the 1+ DTE, which would be Mondays essentially. And then building strategies on those. And the course has not only the underlying data behind it to help you build your own strategy, but also some variations of strategies that you can then pull from those, tweak those based on the other information that you've got to better suit what you're looking for. So that's kind of long-winded, introduction to who I am, how I got into what I'm doing, and a little bit about the 1DTE course.
No, that's great. I appreciate it. And a couple clarifying remarks. There's a little bit of chatter in the chat. People thought you said murders and acquisitions, and just to be clear,
mergers. Sorry,
you
sometimes it is quite literally murder, but no,
mergers. You don't kill people and take their property illegally, at least.
No, I do not.
Yeah. And then the second thing, just a while ago, your light changed in your room, and it straight up looked like you shape shifted, and that was incredible to watch.
So it's this motion sensor light that's awesome. I need to keep doing this because when I stand behind the computer screen, it can't see me anymore, and it thinks that I'm either dead or left the room. So
no, it was awesome. I mean, I've never had a wizard teach an options course, and I was like, is this happening right now? But anyway, the thing that I'd be interested in knowing from your angle, obviously shout out to the people who trade 0-day, and it's not like, that's the beautiful thing about options. It's not like you have to do one or the other, but can you speak to some of the thing you said that I thought was good is that we're not sitting here saying, hey, here's this strategy with like a 4 million MAR or whatever. And when asked why it's the case, it'd be like stocks go up or something like that. Like it's a very well thought out, there's just a lot of research into it. And so I would love to know, just from your angle, what is it about 1DTE, and you get into this in the course, but what is it about 1DTE that there's perhaps some pricing, I wouldn't say, and it depends on this is controversial, but inefficiencies, some risk premium that is built into it in a way that you might be able to harvest. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, so a couple things. First, the Discord for Option Omega is great. It's a great platform that people can share different trade ideas, and it's wonderful. And oftentimes you'll see these strategies get posted, and it's like, look, it's a 4 million MAR, or your CAGR, you can turn $1 into $1 trillion in 3 months. And those strategies that are shared are great, but when you start taking a look at it, you don't necessarily know why it's going to work or why it should work. What parameters of those actually make it a profitable trade as opposed to not? And are you narrowing down the parameters so far that you're finding that one historical set of data that says that was profitable, but there's no way to tell in the future? For me, the way I analyze things, I like to break it down to its various components and then analyze those separately to say, okay, here's a great strategy. What makes that a good strategy? What's the underlying factor behind that that's leading that profitability that may or may not give it edge? So that's kind of how I view things. And that led me into the 1DTE, and there's a number of different theories on why 1DTE is a little bit different than some of your other option strategies. There's a lot of different articles, some finance articles that are written about these, and they go back several years. This isn't necessarily new data, although it's regularly published. There's been a couple within the past couple of years as well that talk about potential mispricings of options as you're going into the close. So the course not only talks about the why. Now, I can't definitively tell you for certain that this is the reason why it's profitable, but I can lead to some, research articles and some data that says, okay, the articles are indicating this may be the reason why potential mispricing is going into the close. But also, I can look at the live data to see whether or not the data that I have, both in backtesting form and actual pricings of real traded options, end up mirroring the data from the research papers to make it consistent. So now we're saying, okay, theoretically, this is what might happen, but in live trades, this is what's actually happening. Is that mirroring or not? We go over some of that data as well. But, a couple of the different reasons why 1DT may work is, there's day traders that are not looking to hold positions at the end of the trading day. So they want to get into positions and they want to get out of positions and not hold overnight. Now, if you have that large of a number of traders that are exiting trades going into the close, it may lead to changes in valuations of the underlying options, and related to their profitability points, that's a little bit different going into the close than it would have been for the rest of the day or the next morning. So that's one of the theories. There's a couple others that have to do with European option or European markets that are open on different time frames than U.S. markets, and the valuations and the processing of values and information that leads to the values of the underlying. That's a couple of the different things, and we go over a lot of that too, so you can see some of it. And it also links to some other research papers that, if you're interested in reading a little bit more by some people with some PhDs next to their name rather than me, that's fine too. You can read that information and then build on that as well.
I mean, PhDs, murders and acquisition, whatever you want to, whatever the thing. But the thing that's interesting to me in that is that it's not, again, obviously we're talking about a course for sale and things like that. So, but also anybody who's ever listened to us, we are not marketers. We're just options traders. So we do these things in tangent, but not trying to necessarily sell on anybody. But the thing that was super impressive to me about this is, again, it's very easy. Well, it's not, it might not be easy, but it's fun, and it's possible to make a really cool back test and say, man, I'd be a zillionaire if I just would have traded this January to now, if I traded it year to date. But like we talked about earlier, if you don't know why that's the case, if there's no kind of research into why would this be, then the chances are it might be randomness, which is always a real possibility. Thus fooled by randomness. But the thing that's super impressive to me is that, for those, and I'll share the link here in a second. The class is over 3 hours long, which is an incredible amount of content. So you were doing the exact opposite of posting a really cool MAR and saying, like, this is when I put it on. You are sitting here with I think the way you said it was great. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, here's the strategy. I'm saying, here is a specific type of way of thinking about 1DTE that I have traded, and I want to share kind of the mindset and the research that I have found in this process. And the other part of it too is you show in the last video, basically live trading, what it looked like for you as you've traded this. Can you speak a little bit to, like, how's it gone this year for you? On any given day, what does that strategy look like for you? Maybe in P&L terms, but you don't have to give P&L terms, but more than P&L terms, like emotionally, that type of trading strategy, how has it been for you?
Yeah, so historically, I mean, like I said, I've been trading it, going back 2018, I'd say a little bit more consistently. My trade records don't always go back that far. I was taking, instead of, logging this strategy, instead just taking a look at my overall P&L of the account. I've got several years back, going 21, 22, 23, even year to date, that shows some of the P&L that we've got. The strategy itself has evolved over that time frame. Again, within that, you didn't always have SPX dailies, so you needed to change your strategy as the market changed. We really talk about SPX dailies in the course, but from my trading, when I first started 2018, 2019, 2020, I was doing some longer dated options, some 30, 60, 90 days, and some 1 DTE. 22, 23, I really focus mostly on short DT and 1 DTE. Zero DT is like trading, with a constant shot of adrenaline coursing through your system. I mean, it's stressful because any spike that ends up happening can hit, boom, massive stop. Even though it's a small move, it can have a large impact on your overall profitability for that day. 1 DT is a little bit different though, in that it's a lot smoother. It's a lot less time involved, and there's not really as much going on, but you still have that high turnover. So you can enter a trade at the end of the day, and it can take you. I mean, I have a full time job, so I typically don't log into Thinkorswim, the actual normal platform. I go into Thinkorswim web, or I just trade on my phone. And I can open my phone in the middle of a deposition or when I'm in the middle of nowhere. As long as I have cell phone or Wi-Fi access, boom, put on the trade. It takes me 2 or 3 minutes, set my stops, and I'm done. Or you can auto trade it, through a number of different service providers that offer auto trading as well. So the time that you spend on your entry is very small. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time watching it. And the vast majority of your trades either hit your profitability point that you're looking for on the next market open, or you're going to end up hitting a stop and look, if the stop happens, it's part of the trading plan. You knew it was going to happen a certain percentage of time. So the stop triggers, and then you kind of go about the rest of your day. So it complements fairly well with other strategies that you can probably focus a little bit more time on those if you want to, because you don't need to spend a whole lot of time after you've created the strategy really tweaking it that much. But also, if you just want to take a little bit of a step back and have a little bit more of a chiller type of trading strategy, 1 DT really works great. A little bit of time in the beginning, and then that's just let the odds play out, let the edge work in your favor.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I look at it and I say, personally trading, having done all of them, it's interesting to me where we're at kind of in the market right now, because 2 years ago, like anybody who's traded options for any number of years, I mean, previous to 2022, like a normal strategy, you might, to your point earlier, you might be selling 45-day options, right? And you're selling 45-day, and there are still people that do that. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. There's plenty of validity to trading long-term options. But what's funny is 0 day became so relevant so quick, especially when it launched. 22 was a massive kind of volatility year in a weird way that we hadn't seen before. And so vol's up all year. So like the premiums built in, but yet we're not really going anywhere. It was such a weird year. Whereas now I've talked to people before. They're like, I trade long-term strategies. I'm like, oh, cool. 45-day. They're, oh no, like 1 or 2 days. And like, that's a long-term strategy. It's like a 1
Which,
day.
I mean, if you think about it, if you're entering a trade at 2:30 with the expectation that it's going to expire worthless at 4, trading a 1 or 2 day strategy is like, an infinite amount of time beyond that.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
if you've been trading for a while, it used to be, I mean, even before I really started trading, you had one expiration a month. So, I mean, that was it. And then, weeklies were like, oh, hold on a second. There's a lot of frequency here. So now
Yeah.
having every day, I mean, there's the natural feeling of just like, man, that's your benchmark for time. In reality, 1 DT is actually a pretty short time frame. You're just selling and holding overnight and taking on that risk and being compensated for that risk. But it's all in comparison.
No, I agree. That was. I mean, I tell this story to people all the time, but the strategy, and I won't name the back tester, but the whole reason Option Omega exists in some ways is Rusty and I, worked together and we were trading, and I found this 1 day strategy, 1 DT strategy, and I really, to this day, I still wish that was a great strategy. I loved it. It was perfect, except for it was end of day data, and I didn't realize that until the trade log of real life happened, and I was like, oh crap. So I do think with Option Omega, I mean, that's kind of been the premise, is like, we came along at a good time when 0 day happened as well. And so now you can get to what you said earlier, just faster validity or invalidity to your strategy. Like you can just know quicker whether it's the case, and you have more data points now with the 5-day-a-week expiration. So one thing as I do before, I don't want to keep you too long, murdering and acquisiting things, as a full-time job, but I do want to say, hey, you've done a great job. And one thing I want to show, I'll share the page, and I put the link in the chat. But one of the things I wanted to go through real quick, just because it's to the point of the work that you did, like I've seen so many people, I've had people ask us to do classes and things like that. And like they're selecting puts, that's a 15-minute video. Like you are talking about selecting puts for 15 minutes. People literally will try to do that in 10 seconds sometimes. And I think same with call selection, 23 minutes, exit criteria, almost an hour on exit criteria. Actually over an hour once you talk about with profit targets and things like that. And so again, to me, it's not a question of is the strategy great or not. I actually do think you have a good strategy. I'm just very impressed, and I think that anybody who's struggling and feeling stuck with why is it not working, why am I trading not working, if anything else, even if you walked away and you didn't start trading this 1DT strategy, I think the way Justin approaches the strategy in of itself is a huge learning lesson for a lot of us, how to approach and how to think critically about what you're doing. So just kudos to you, man. You did an awesome job, and we're very excited to have it on there. So any closing things you want to say or anything like that? It's live. It's on the website. You can buy. It's $199, and it'll be on there, Lord willing, a long time. So and hopefully, as you develop more stuff, we'd love to have you do more stuff, because it was an incredible course. But any closing remarks from your end?
Yeah, I mean, it was a blast making the course. I'm available through the Discord if anybody's got any questions. Created a thread just for that. Happy to reach out to me directly. I don't have any issues with that either. It was really fun making the course, just because it's how I walk through creating a strategy or analyzing a strategy is really just, it's how I do it normally anyway. I had all of this data anyway, and I got it sitting in sheets, and charts and graphs and showing various movements in different time frames, and being able to sit down and logically walk through, hey, yes, I'm talking about 1DTE, but in reality, you can apply the same metrics to any type of strategy or any time frame. Just break it down to its various components and take a look at how they kind of interplay with each other, and then use that to build again. Because while I find very few instances of abnormalities in the underlying data when I do backtest, occasionally, I mean, it does show up. You may see, for example, if you're targeting a $5 put or a $6 put or a $7 put, you may see profitability fairly flat, but then suddenly when you hit 6, boom, it spikes up like 200 or 300% and then goes back down. And so if you just ran that test at that one point, or got a link from somebody else from that one point, you may think, man, your profitability is right up here. But what's difficult is some of the underlying data may not be quite as consistent. So you got to take a look at that in the grand scheme of all the other available options that you're going to look at selecting to see. Because when you actually enter, you may not enter for the $5 or the $6 one. You may enter for the, $4.95 one or something like that. So understanding kind of the various pieces and really backing up and taking a look at it, that's really how I select strategies anyway. So it was really a blast to kind of be able to share that with you guys, give you a little bit more information, hopefully some inspiration. So appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Appreciate the opportunity to teach and present a little bit of information.
We are thrilled about it. So thank you again. And if anybody, what he was talking about, if you're listening and you're not part of Option Omega or whatever, you can join the Discord. But the Discord has like a couple thousand people at this point, and we have created in it under our Academy section a course. And what Justin was saying is you can interact with him and us there as well. So any education needs a community. So whether you start with education or start with community, they need each other. So anyway, Justin, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you again. And if anybody has any questions, just reach out to us on Discord. But other than that, I will let you go. And I'm going to make the joke one more time. Back to murdering and acquisition. I'm gonna use that
Dragging
title
the
for
bodies out
myself.
the door, right? Either out the door or in the
Yeah.
door, one or the other.
That's right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will talk soon. So have a good rest of your day.